written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Good afternoon. I call this exchange meeting to order and ask that you all rise to join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the exchange meeting for February. I'm Kat Fimmel, President of the 2024 Board of Directors. This meeting is audio and video recorded by the RCSC management staff. Please be advised there is no individual recording of this meeting. Please silence your electronic devices. I'll try to remember to remind you to turn them back on at the end of the meeting. I'll begin by introducing the Board of Directors. Vice President Karen McAdam.
Hello.
Secretary Jean Totten.
Good afternoon.
Treasurer Anita Borski.
Hello.
Director Steve Collins. Director Connie Jo Rickmeyer.
Nice meeting you all.
Director John Fast.
Good afternoon.
Director Preston Keiss.
Hello.
And Director James Ruff. Our timekeeper for today is going to be Director Rickmeyer. Introduction of management staff, and I'll give you a heads up, there's going to be some changes, so it may take me a few minutes to get through this list. We have Matthew D. Lazansky, the General Manager.
Howdy.
Kevin McCurdy, support/finance, says finance leader, okay, finance senior leader.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for bearing with me. Mike Whitbrood, facilities senior leader.
Hello.
Mike Deermeyer, non-golf senior leader. Brian Duthu, golf senior leader.
Good morning.
Debbie Giles, assistant to the general manager, and Marcia Johnson, board coordinator.
Good afternoon.
We also want to recognize Alan Kleinhans and Doreen Rafferty, our audiovisual engineers. And as always, we thank the Sundial staff for getting this room ready for us. Before we dive into the topics this evening, the general manager has asked for a few moments of your time.
Thank you, President Fimmel. Good afternoon. You've all heard me say that we're focused on putting our new mission, vision, and values into practice. We're spending a lot of time and attention and resources where it makes sense to do and improve as much as possible, as soon as possible, for the members and for the staff and for the corporation. Myself and the board have also spoken many times about transparency and change. Now, the thing about transparency and change is you might not like the changes you see. In fact, you may be upset. And no doubt we'll be hearing some upsetting issues shortly as the exchange moves along today. That is part of our process. We ask that you stick to the issues and not how you feel about the issues at hand, not ad hominem attacks, which are arguments or reactions directed against the person rather than the position that person maintains. Our goal is to use logic and reason to make the best decisions every day, the best changes every day, big and small, to improve all of our lives here in Sun City. Change is a constant. Change can be difficult, but we cannot tolerate it as an excuse for rude behavior. A couple recent examples of somewhat difficult changes are the lights and fans at Bell Fitness, the changes to access to Duffyland Dog Park. But change is not an excuse for disrespectful or rude behavior and language in this forum or anywhere. So please do not exhibit rude behavior or use inappropriate language directed to any of the RCS staff that are here to help you and to serve you and to make Sun City a wonderful place. Thank you for your help in this important matter.
Next up is the topics list. If you don't already have a copy of the topics list, they are available at the back of the room. Also at the table in the back are copies of the elements document regarding the Mountain View project. First up is the reopening of the mini golf at Mountain View. General Manager, do you have any updates on that?
Yes, we are moving forward with that project, and we expect it to be done in March. Sound right, Mike?
We don't have the exact commitment of lead time for the carpet, so it could be a little bit later than that. We don't have a date definite, but it's March, April.
That's what we're shooting for.
Okay. The SIF fee at end of year, that is going to be handled on a case-by-case basis. I think the committee is meeting Wednesday. Is that correct, VP McAdam, to discuss that further? We have a future meeting to discuss? No. Management's working on that. Okay. Next up is the decision on Mountain View project. The elements were presented to the members, and that was done in a presentation, and 2 presentations actually, and then the written elements were also provided to the membership. This motion is in support of moving forward on the getting the architect engineer for the design of the Mountain View project. The second reading is going to be held on February 29th. And as soon as that is approved, we'll be able to move forward and have management contract for a architect engineer for that project. We received a request from the tennis club regarding the tennis courts at Lakeview. We have that request. We may have some issues in proceeding on the request because that area has the potential for being involved in the Mountain View project. And so we're going to have to give some thought to that process, because one of the things the architect engineer is going to be doing is looking at the potentiality of putting the PAC at Lakeview. And so we wouldn't be wanting to do some things at Lakeview until we know exactly where the PAC might be placed, if it is placed at Lakeview. Participate in the Silver Sneakers and Active Renewal. Management was looking into that. Have you made, and you have any comments with regard to that?
Yes, our understanding of how that program works is for like fees that you would pay for a club membership. And since ours are not in that category, it's not something that would be appropriate for us here.
Question? Okay. Expanding a patio at Mountain View. Any of the items that are related to Mountain View, as soon as we can get the second reading done, will be pushed forward into the design process of the Mountain View project. That would include this item as well. Putting up the Sun City flag at 107th and Grand. Many of you have probably noticed that the flag has been posted. 3, golf cart rule. Issues regarding golf, including this particular item, will be forwarded to the Golf Advisory Committee for their discussion and consideration and for recommendation to the board. Put the PIF projects on the RCSC website. The projects, to my knowledge, have been posted to the website. Is that correct, Mr. General Manager?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Why do we do 2 readings instead of 1 reading, which would be preferred by the members? The board does 2 readings to give you as much transparency as we can, and also to provide you with as much opportunity to make comments and let us know how you feel about the community. Implement a paid golf ranger program. Mr. General Manager?
We haven't implemented a paid program for all the rangers. What we did is we hired a chief ranger to conduct training and to help get new rangers in, and we'll see how that goes for a while and see whether we get improvements just from having someone actually focused on leading that effort. And then if we need to do more, we'll consider that in the future. But that was our first step, is having someone to be the chief ranger that's on staff.
Thank you. That concludes the current items on the topics. Next, we'll move to announcements. Are there any directors with announcements? Vice President McAdam.
So for those of you who are here, you'll notice that there was a sheet out in the back where you came in with some important dates with respect to any submissions for the annual membership meeting. But for those people who might be watching this by video, let me just run through this. So the annual membership meeting will be held on March 12th at 6 p.m. here at Sundial. So any motions that would involve a revision to the corporate bylaws need to be submitted to the corporate office by Friday, February 23rd at noon. Any other motions requiring a membership vote also by Friday, February 23rd at noon. Shortly thereafter, the agenda will be posted according to the requirements of our bylaws, at which point anybody who would like to collect proxies or to assign a proxy to somebody can proceed with that. Proxy forms are available online or at the corporate offices, and they would need to be submitted by Wednesday, March 6th at noon in order to give staff an opportunity to verify all of those proxy forms. So just a reminder about that, and that the meeting is on Tuesday, March 12th at 6 p.m.
Do we have any additional announcements? Okay, we'll proceed. The exchange is designed to provide our members with a voice and opportunity to make comments let's just move on. Okay, let's move on. We'll move on. Let's hear what you all have to say this evening. Who would like to be first up?
Hi there. Best Friends Dog Club would like to welcome all new board members as well as any new management staff. Our club has an outdoor training yard located at the east end of Fairway Recreation Center. We offer training opportunities from basic manners, your normal come, sit, stay, to advanced manner classes such as AKC Canine Good Citizen Advanced, along with skill classes such as agility, tri-ball, scent work, and many more, in addition to limited social activities with our dogs that we can hold in our outdoor training yard. As you may be aware, our 30-year-old club has requested an indoor, climate-controlled training and socialization facility, which was approved and added to the PIF back in 2022. We've been told that RCSC management is looking for a good spot for this facility, and we really do appreciate the efforts on our behalf. We'd like to have the process expedited so we can have the facility funded on the PIF and get the process started. Our club continues to grow, and as summer approaches, we're once again forced to suspend all training and social activities with our dogs. We're at the whim of the weather at all times. Often we have to cancel classes or events in the training yard due to Mother Nature. We have a multitude of ideas that we're anxious to implement that would benefit our members and the community once the facility is completed. As our club continues to grow, this need becomes more and more urgent. We look forward to meeting and working with you in the near future. Thank you so much.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Can I ask what was your name?
Cheryl Sargent.
Cheryl, thank you.
Hi, my name is Barb Wagers. In the exchange meeting on April 11, 2022, I asked the board to change the marquees from saying the original Fun City to state the City of Volunteers. I am quite familiar with the history of Sun City, and there is absolutely no historical records that state that Sun City is the original Fun City. However, there are several records and documents and even quotes from Del Webb that state that the Sun City is the City of Volunteers. And listen to what Jane Freeman said, the founder of Sun City Historical Society in 1989, and the author of the Sun City history book titled The Jubilee. And this is what she said about Sun City and the volunteers.
Well, the clubs and the organizations, but I think one of the strong points was the volunteering on the part of the residents. In fact, we're known as a city of volunteers.
Go Jane Freeman, right? For 2 years, you have told me to wait until the results of the ASU survey so ASU can address and help us market Sun City. The board in 2022 said that the City of Volunteers motto is old-fashioned and will turn away the younger residents. Well, we all know that did not happen. And we all know Sun City is organized and run by volunteers. 2 general managers ago put the original Fun City thing on the marquees. It's still on the exchange topics spreadsheet, as you will see on page 2, and it says refer to management. So I am asking the board, and I'm asking the new RCSC General Manager, Matt, specifically because I know that you respect the history of Sun City. You have been to the Del Webb Sun Cities Museum, and so please change the marquees to read exactly who we are, the City of Volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give me a minute.
There's a microphone right there, sir.
You can use that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Norm Dixon, 2429. I came across some information that I'm reasonably sure you do not have, so bear with me.
Sorry.
A fiduciary is someone who manages property or money on behalf of someone else. When you become a fiduciary, the law requires that you manage the person's assets for their benefit. In fiduciary relationship, the person must prioritize their client's interest over their own. You can substitute in there members of Sun City for clients. This is your main responsibility as a director. Do not deliberately put the RCSC in an avoidable legal and financial risk and a risk to our members for injuries. Let me provide you with some figures which put you, the RCSC, its members, at both financial and legal risk. In 2019, there were 19,000 pickleball injuries. 90% were to people 50 or older. That's us. The recorded injuries in 2023, remember that figure of 19,000. Recorded injuries in 2023, and by the way, this is from Swiss Bank USB, Forbes, and Kiplinger's, all legitimate, long-standing sources of information. The recorded injuries in 2023, last year, were 366,000 pickleball injuries. In 4 years, you went from 19,000 to 366,000. Breaking them down, 67,000 emergency room visits, 20,000 post-acute episodes. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds serious. 8,800 outpatients, 4,700 hospitalizations. And again, remember, most of these injuries were to people over 50. Might surprise you, I'm over 50. UBS, which is a Swiss group, Bloomberg, estimate that there could be between $250 million to $500 million in medical costs attributable to pickleball. Common pickleball injuries: Achilles tendon, strains or tears, shoulder injuries, rotator cuff, lower back, I can testify to that, such as disc injuries, muscle strains, lateral, please let me finish, lateral, which is pickleball elbow. You cannot ignore this high risk. Some possible actions you can take.
Mr. Dixon, in fairness to everybody else who gets 3 minutes, if you'd like to return after everyone's had an opportunity to speak, then you can conclude your comments. Please let the next person speak.
Okay. I'll be back.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ed Van Ness. I am duly elected president of SHOA. I'm going to change the course a little bit here and give you a little bit of information on what SHOA is and what it does for our community. Unbeknownst to most of you, our dues come from membership. Out of the 17,500 rooftops that are under our control, that's eliminating condos, we have less than 5,000 members that help support what we do for the community. We have a committee that addresses property. We have a compliance department that does that. And we try to keep, you drive around Sun City, it looks pretty good. For a 60-year-old community, you go to other neighboring communities, you won't find it as well as we have. But we have a committee that details with government affairs. Currently, the water rate is something that affects everybody that lives in Sun City. We're working on trying to control that. So, another thing, we just got another bill introduced to us that allows parking on the street if it goes through. We're looking at whether it affects Sun City, but can you imagine if everybody in the community starts parking their vehicle on the road? That would create a hazard for most people, and the fire department, which serves us well, that would prevent them, it would slow down their rescue time. And I think that's something that you really ought to know that we do. We have a roads and safety committee that reviews what's going on in our community, our roads and safety of them. So we, through the CC&Rs, we believe that our mission statement is a fair and consistent application of the CC&Rs to the community. So what I'm doing here today is asking each and every one of you that owns a house here, whether it's a condo or not, you can still join our the SHOA if you're a community or HO, you're part of an HOA of a condo. The important thing is we do great things for our community. We keep it looking nice, so I would appreciate your support for SHOA. Their office is on Coggins, not too far from here. Probably everybody's driven by there several times, but I'm going to leave a few of my cards on the back table. If you're interested, you can contact me, and I'd be glad to direct you in a manner appropriate. Thank you for your time.
If I may, Mr. Van Ness, I was under the impression that the parking, excuse me, 1 minute. Is it all right? This is an exchange. I am allowed to speak, right? Okay. I was under the impression that the parking on the streets, that wasn't going to affect us here in Sun City, that was just Sun City West. Can you do you have a little more background on that? Is that something we should be more alert about?
Well, I don't have the exact content of we are looking into whether it affects Sun City. Sun City West is very concerned about it because of the safety issues that arise. Right. We are very concerned about it because it's a condition that could be very serious for somebody that gets hurt and the fire department can't get there. Right. So we are looking at that. We're looking at fighting the water rates. We do a lot that people don't know about, and we really need your support because $25 a year for membership is nothing. I mean, everybody's costs have gone up. We haven't raised our rates for membership in a number of years. So Kat invited me to speak. I'm taking an opportunity to speak and let everybody know that we are not connected for RCSC. The money that you pay for RCSC does not go to SHOA. It's a separate entity. So for 25 minutes, for 25 bucks, we thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
It's okay.
Good afternoon, Diane Hull, 155953. If you know me, you know I'm here about golf. I am a very new member on the Golf Advisory Committee, and I'm looking at some proposals that are going through Golf Advisory Committee right now, and it appears to me that there are a few people who want to improve the playability and conditions of our golf courses to the level of Sun City West and Sun City Grand, according to some information that I've received here in our Greens Committee meeting. The biggest part of the large raises last year, the big push was to be able to pay our employees a livable wage. So RCSC employees have already received a 9.2% wage increase, so that has been accomplished for the time being. The number 2 bullet on the information I'm looking at is the USGA guidance for headcount of wage grade staffing. That guidance is not based on municipal quality courses. Per the USGA, that guidance, there should be a method based on the amount of time each task takes. So if we are not looking to play on a premier golf courses, which the vast majority of golfers in Sun City and the vast majority of residents in Sun City live here because it's affordable, they play golf here because it's affordable. Number 3, there was talk about a paid ranger program as a possibility for paying for more increases, which we don't believe that should even make consideration at this time. As was indicated, the volunteer ranger program is currently undergoing changes to become more effective. The built-in scheduled sand trap refresh guidance can be put on hold until we can collect actual data based on the current increases of rates to members at this time at the end of this year. Imposing a trail fee on member carts, which was also one proposed way of taking care of the 5-year increase plan. It was done in the past, it didn't work well. It caused problems with people not paying and using other members' carts instead. It was rolled into the cost of golf to alleviate problems between members. This was many years ago. We got this from a 20-year member. members already take a huge capital expense off of RCSC by having their own carts, maintaining their own carts, not requiring RCSC to purchase enough carts to satisfy everyone who's playing golf, much less build golf cart storage to take care of those carts. The bottom line is the majority of our residents are here because golf is affordable, and they're content with the general condition of our courses. They're already having a difficult time paying for the current increase in fees, and some may not buy a membership again as it's already too expensive for them. And they're already causing households with 2 golfers to choose who will golf, how often, and at what cost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, may I ask a question? Are you here representing the Golf Advisory Committee?
No, I am here representing the Lakes West Women's Golf League, but we've also started a poll with the Lakes West and East Men's Leagues because the nature of our golf leagues, the men's leagues do not have regular membership meetings. The ladies' leagues do have regular membership meetings. So a lot of the men playing in leagues, and even men who are playing golf here but do not belong to leagues, they have no idea that any of these discussion topics are topics of discussion right now as far as a 5-year strategic plan.
And the information that you're reading off of, what is that? Is it something?
Those are notes that I have made based on our Lakes West Women's League meeting that was just over a week ago, where we had an 80% attendance, and there was an overwhelming opinion that the fee increases, we should wait a year until we can see actual numbers where we're at monetarily at that point in time, because golf has operated with a very minor surplus the last 3 years. And with these increases, our league believes we need to wait a year to see how the numbers come out before we start imposing an annual increase over the next 5 years.
Did I understand you to say that you were on the Greens Committee?
I'm on the Greens Committee at Lakes West, representing the Lakes West Ladies League, and I'm a brand new member of the Golf Advisory Committee as well.
I think that was the question that you asked. Yes, she is a member of the Golf Advisory Committee.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alistair Muller. I have 2 areas of concern. First would be the guest punch card, and the second is the comment cards that you don't get any callback on. So the first one is when I went to get a punch card yesterday, I normally keep a couple of guest punch cards. I was told starting April, it's going to be online, they'll no longer be available. You'll have to give information such as person's driver's license, etc., intended guest. I don't think that's a good idea. I normally keep a couple of cards. I often have visitors at short notice. Secondly would be the comment cards that you leave at the gyms. A couple of occasions I've raised concerns about conditions of the bench press and some of the equipment in the gym at Bell, and don't seem to get any callback on that.
What's your name and member number, sir?
Alistair Muller, 167378.
167379?
Correct, 378.
378, okay.
Excuse me, are you finished?
Yes, I am.
I'm over here. Alec, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get what it was about the punch cards, because they're going on. No, why don't you speak into the microphone? Was it because they're going online only? Is that?
Because it's going online only, and what I'm told is it's going to be different to the way it's done now. It's just a punch card. You have guests, they punch the card. What I was told by the representative at Lakeview is that it's going to be done online. You're going to have to give the name of the person. They're going to have to show a driver's license. And the reason was that the cards are being abused. The privileges, I kind of find that hard to believe, and I'm a 2-year resident here, and I sometimes get the impression that RCSC does more what's in their best interest and not in the members' best interest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Are we in the process of changing the way we do our punch cards?
We're in the process of changing many things, and that's one of them, as well as the comment cards. And he spoke to it because of abuse.
And we are going to an automated comment card system, correct?
Correct. It's in the works now. It should be done, I was hoping, by the end of the first quarter.
Thank you.
But am I to understand, though, that the only way that a member would be able to get a punch card then is online? What if they don't have a computer?
So the host punch cards present some opportunities for non-members and non-guests to access the facilities, and they're being used in ways that were not envisioned and we think are inappropriate. And by selling the day passes online and having individuals, members, purchase these day passes online, we have a lot better control over who's using the facilities here and making sure that they're truly guests of members. Not to mention, by selling the host cards, punch cards at the FA stations, we're requiring the FA stations to have cash drawers, and it is not a good situation all around. So we're looking at ways to tighten up the way that we allow guests to use the facilities, and that's one of those ways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jim Kepler, 127409. I'd like to start addressing the Mountain View project. Moving the theater to Lakeview is not necessarily a bad idea, but I want to remind everybody it's only going to get 2.4 miles closer to the center of Sun City. And I doubt if the theater is going to get hundreds, if not thousands of more people showing up because it's 2.4 miles closer. I did notice the suggestion of keeping the current Mountain View exercise room the same, just expanding it into where the old hot tub would be. I think that's a great savings of money, and I appreciate that. Here are my concerns. The last Mountain View meeting about this project, I heard people say, this is just like Plan M. And honestly, I don't know how you could even look in the mirror after saying that. I'm not going to rehash what you changed after Plan M, but many of us already know what you did. Just to comment to my folks behind me, this whole process with the committee was supposed to be transparent, with everybody sitting around the table, and it started out that way. But several of our board members figured out that if they could influence the decision and steer it the way they wanted it to go, in my opinion, they could get what they wanted. And in my opinion, this whole thing was an orchestrated outcome. Everyone in the group knew they would not get everything they wanted, except for one group. One group decided that they were going to take everything they could and to heck with everybody else. We had pickleball people testifying that we in Sun City should build them 100 new courts. Now, think about that. Do they really care what the rest of us think? But then we heard, well, maybe 40 courts would be fine. I could see halfway through the process, this was ending as what we were going to have here. A board presented an approved plan, not only for the 8 courts that we allotted them, but they decided to need it to rip up lawn bowling and get air-conditioned courts so the poor darlings can play in the shade. Such delicate little flowers they are. We had 5 board members involved in this process, but at least 3 of them were there, in my opinion, to make sure pickleball got everything they wanted. Now, pickleball could have taken the 8 courts we gave them, at least 4 more to the south side of the current exercise room, and that would have given 8 plus 4 courts. This would have added 4 courts. They could have shaded the existing courts that they have given, and they wouldn't have had to rip up lawn bowling. But we all know the gods of pickleball have spoken. Our facilities are for them to take it as anything they want. And anyone who doubts, go back and look at the Mountain View meeting where 4 of our board members are debating with the people presenting, arguing with them. It's a done deal, and anything we say will be of waste. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm David Clausen, 154-961. I am happy to be back, and I'm looking at the items 3 and 4 on our list today, the Mountain View project. I have to believe and say that some of the things that were just said, I felt, because it felt like being part of the SAC committee that we as the group, made our discussions week after week. We felt that we needed to address one big thing, and that was, where was the Performing Arts Center to be? And that was discussed a fair amount. From my perspective, the discussion, though close, with alternative people that wanted the Performing Arts Center at a more centrally located area of Lakeview, it was voted, in my view, to have the PAC remain in a renovated facility at Mountain View, a facility that the architect had presented would be a wow. It wasn't going to be just putting paint on it and putting more better sound system and lights in there and putting theater seats. It was going to be knocking out a wall or two on the backside, making a nice entrance, making it a wow factor. I supported that, and I still do. We all discussed the concerns of moving the Performing Arts Center to Lakeview, that being a new project, absolutely new facility, all kinds of new challenges, and therefore it would be delayed and delayed again. And I support what the board has done now to do the elements of the Mountain View project, and I salute the fact that Director Keiss and others allowed the presentation that we voted on, the first motion, that had in it a architectural engineer review of the Mountain View Auditorium as part, I emphasize, as part of that elements process. If we still, as board members, have an open mind in saying, if it's fiscally responsible to renovate the auditorium, let's do it. That is the right thing. It would move things forward. The PAC, they were ready to make accommodations for that period of time where they would not have a building. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dave, just a quick question. In terms of the feasibility of renovating the auditorium, what I hear you say is that you had thought there would be a civil engineer or a structural engineer that would review that building?
Yes. And
that never occurred?
It never occurred, and for some reason, it didn't occur even in the last board, in the first project, and it didn't occur during the SAC period of time, but in the elements, you've indicated that you would do it now, along with looking at Lakeview. So I'm counting on that commitment to occur.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Terry Klatt, 132-103, and if you feel like you're getting tag teamed, you are, because I'm going to finish Diane. Anyway, when we had this other meeting on golf and we got a chance to speak, one of the things that I mentioned was that it seemed like we were cutting out revenue streams. And those cutting out of those revenue streams, we haven't seen the effect of those yet. And any golf course is going to need to accept outside play and tournaments. country clubs around the country are changing their way of that. They've been doing it for years. They've gone to semi-private. They understand even high dollar or high income members can't support golf courses on their own, and we have 8 here. The proposed increases to the golf passes starting in 2024, and I understand these are not voted on yet. You're going to be paying $2,400 to $2,500 for that or no charge pass. That's beyond a lot of our income. We're not getting 5% increases in our income each year. And most of us are on Social Security. As a community, we cannot afford to support the courses ourselves. Again, I said most courses have been going to semi-private status. If you cut out a tournament, Brian can attest, that's a big punch of money right there in a single tournament. We all still want the variety in our courses that the 8 courses provide, but we need a balance of need, acceptable course conditions, and availability of revenue sources. And I think I heard something, there was like 6,000 golfers that have passes or that golf regularly. That's not a whole lot of revenue stream. Most of all, we want and deserve to have an open and transparent discussion of the budget issues around golf. That means all golfers, league members, daily golfers, and not just decided by a few people at the golf advisory. So if you keep preaching your openness and transparency, you need to talk to all the golfers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. General Manager, did we not have a meeting specifically with golfers about the golf budget last year? Was that not done at the Grand?
President Fimmel, the golf budget was specifically presented at a Golf Advisory Committee meeting, and I know that the Golf Advisory Committee met prior to that to discuss the fees. So I think that there was a fair amount of transparency around that. I'm not sure where the $2,400 is coming from, unless you've...
I do have some comment.
Okay.
President Fimmel,
yes,
if I may. The paper that they're referring to was presented at Golf Advisory last month to begin a discussion on the golf budgeting process over the next 5 years. It was nothing that was presented was any sort of idea that, hey, this is the direction we're going, we want your input. It was just a way to get the committee to go back to their respective green committees and start a discussion over what they would like to see, so that come this next meeting, which is this week, that we would begin the discussion on the types of things that they've talked about, and then over the next month get even more discussion, so that when we adjourn for the summer, we have some idea of what the golfing community would like. So I applaud their efforts to get the input from their respective courses. That's what the process was supposed to be.
Thank you.
If I may. I want to thank you for attempting to start the ball rolling. I think I mentioned at one of the last meetings that I hear about golf constantly. I'm not a golfer. I feel all of your angst. I understand. And I just have said before, I think too many years go by, too many rules get changed, too many rumors go around. A meeting of all the golfers and anybody on the staff who touches golf, I think, is a good idea. A big, huge town hall, a come to Jesus meeting, because there's too many people who golf who do not understand what's going on. You're starting in the right direction, but I don't know, you know, there's a meeting this Thursday at 9:30? 8:30. Golf Advisory. Come. If you're listening and you have a golf issue, come. If you have questions about golf, come. That's the only way you're going to be heard. Thank you.
I'm sorry? Yes.
If I could just piggyback on that.
Yes.
Okay, it is at Lakeview Social Hall 2 is where that committee's at. Not just, don't come here, go to Lakeview. It's the top floor, at Social Hall number 2. There's lots of room for people to sit and join in and just listen to what goes on. I will admit, I'm not a huge golfer, it's been a learning experience, so come on down.
Do we have any additional comments? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Linda Phillips, 48125. I just have a quick question. Why have they put the, taken away remotes on the fans in the Marinette and the Bell centers? And I understand that will be in all centers. And some of us get very cold with those fans going all the time. So I'm asking why.
General Manager?
So the reason that we've put all the fans on medium is because we have, for lack of a better name, fan wars going on. And fans get turned up, not necessarily for the people that are right under the fans, but maybe the people that are in an adjacent room. Also, people get mad when the fans get changed, so they take the controllers, the remotes, and they change the dip switches on them so they can't be used anymore. So you may not understand that this goes on, but it does. We deal with it day in and day out. So we've kind of looked around. There are no other gym, fitness facilities where you're allowed to adjust the fans in the facility. So we are going to try this for a while and see how it works. I was just over at the Bell Fitness today because there's also the issue with the lights. You know, the lights need to be changed, so we put new lights in, and the lights are too bright for some people. They were too dim before. This is not easy to keep everybody in their comfort zone. So we try to do the best we can to make it as comfortable for the average user, and we'll continue to do that. And so there will be some outliers in that will probably not be completely happy with the decisions we make. We have addressed the lighting. We're going to see if we can put some dimmers in there. We do have the circuits on 50%, so you can turn some down. We needed to redo the lights, and so they're done. And I'm going to continue to monitor and investigate different alternatives to this situation.
I just want you to know that we're not youngsters, and youngsters in gyms have need for those fans, but older people sometimes don't. So I just want you to know.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Melvin Haas, 114378. And my question is, when they have a performance here at Sundial, how many people attend that? Do you know? On Wednesday nights or whatever it is?
What performance are you speaking of?
What do you sell tickets to?
Yeah, what do you sell the tickets to? Like that, the Sun Bowl, only bring it in.
We know how many tickets we sell.
Pardon me?
We know how many tickets we sell. I don't know off the top of my head, it varies, but yes, we know how many we sell.
And how many is that?
I just said I don't know off the top of my head how many there are. We could.
It's on average about 900.
900?
It varies, it depends on the performance.
All right.
And the weather.
This is the point I'm getting at. You put 900 chairs out here, and you have to take them down every time. Now, why can't you add a little bit more area for the theater, put the chairs in there, and then, or the recliner, or not recliner, but theater chairs. Everybody's a little more happier, and you could even get a bigger audience. You know, I don't know if you've taken a poll over the Sun City, how many people would attend, but you could even get some Las Vegas acts here with that price. I mean, I don't understand.
Can I ask you, are you talking about putting chairs in here permanently?
No, not here. They actually came up with the idea of bleachers coming out here. Well, then you come out from the wall all the way out here, and then you're 10, 20 feet away from the stage. But to make the theater for the arts is great. I mean, but make it a little bit bigger so you can use it and don't have to use this facility to put chairs up, take them down, and everybody's more comfortable. You could charge more, even more of a price probably, or more attendance all the time. And so in the summer, when it gets too dang hot, you could cancel it out at the Sun Bowl and bring it here. You know, there's a lot of options there. But when you're sitting there trying to convert all this, I don't know how they come up with a figure of 300 to 350 for this theater, for the fine arts. I mean, did they look at expanding that? How much more would it cost? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. My other topic is, I know they want to try to make the pickleball climate control. Well, what you first would want to do would do Marinette, put your glass in there that is dark glass, and a chiller on the ground. I've mentioned this before, and now you got air conditioned. Now we don't have any type of, I'm a tennis player. I've asked before, I'm gonna make it quick, put a retractable roof or retractable canopy, not a hard one, but a something like they do at the pools. Bing, 4 courts. That's all we need, because it's about 170 degrees in your arms when you're playing at June and July. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Ma'am, come on up.
Whoever wants first.
Come on up, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Margaret Farsh. My number is 9545. I wanted to make a further comment about the fans at Marinette and I guess Bell. And I questioned it on Saturday when I was over there, and I was sitting under a hurricane. 13 fans were going at the same time in that room. I think there was 5 of us in it at the time at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 13 fans. So I was busy looking around for the control switch, and another exerciser said, they're gone for some reason. I just don't think that we need 13 fans at the same time. I would, if I could have found a place where the fan wasn't going, maybe I would exercise under it. But I needed a hat that day, and they didn't have one. That's my comment. Can we not forget this idea of losing the controls? We're adults. We can control it or not in a peaceable manner. Thank you for having confidence in us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret. If I might.
I wondered if it would be possible to entertain the notion of how many exercise and fitness rooms do we have in use and working well?
8. I would think all of them.
Okay. I guess I was just going to say maybe we could do half and half, or try, regulating 6 out of 8, or, something like that instead of what we're doing. Just a thought.
Milt, you're next.
Milt Lebsack, 130662. I hear a lot of comments about a variety of issues, and I could talk for hours about it, but I want to talk about Mountain View because I've spent a lot of time there. I've made a lot of comments in the past about various proposals. I concur with what previous members have said, that I think the M design has been significantly deviated from after it was originally presented. So I sympathize with the people who express that opinion. That's my opinion as well. But my primary, first of all, I want to say that I appreciate the preparation efforts for improvements at the pool and the miniature golf course, and I understand that the weather hasn't cooperated so that you can't proceed with that as quickly as you might like to right at the moment. But I would like to commend you for at least getting that started. My primary comments are in regards to any air-conditioned indoor facilities for pickleball, for a gymnasium, for tennis courts, any of those facilities is not warranted in Sun City or, in my opinion, any retirement community in the country. There are numerous examples of indoor pickleball facilities, indoor gyms, indoor tennis courts. In virtually every circumstance, they are financed by private companies or by a municipal organization, not by residents of a senior community. And I think there are a plethora of reasons why governing bodies of retirement communities have avoided making a decision on an indoor gym, an indoor pickleball facility, an indoor tennis court. The primary reasons are expense, and I firmly believe that the vast majority of the population of the communities do not support it. So my primary argument is against any indoor gym, tennis court, or pickleball facilities in Sun City, and I'd be happy to have you examine facilities, if you can find any, in other senior communities where they have done this and it has been a satisfactory result. I think you'd be very hard-pressed to find any examples. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Cheryl McLean, 100212. First of all, a quick comment. The gyms are air-conditioned. Am I not correct?
Fitness centers.
Fitness centers.
Fitness center gyms? Okay, all right. I just had a few comments. Pickleball, I'm not sure where you were going on that, but it sounds like, and I'm not a pickleball player, I mean, I could fall walking across the floor, but any activity you do, you could get injured. So I'm not sure if that's where you were going about that. So proxy forms, that was mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. When I brought proxies to the last large meeting, I was told I was only allowed 10, and somebody else had a lot more. Can you tell me exactly how many we're allowed to have?
Okay, I got that.
Okay.
Okay, they're only going to give you 10 copies. Make as many copies as you want. That's where the 10 comes from.
Okay.
Okay. So if they give you 10 hard, and then you go make as many.
Okay, gotcha.
Because I sat next to you and I asked.
Yes, that was a question. Okay, the guest cards. I have guest cards with the punch. How long are those going to be? Can I use those? Can I keep those and use those 6 months from now? Or am I going to have to go, because I've already spent the money on them? Who can answer that for me?
Yeah, we'd like to sunset the use of those by the end of this year.
Okay, I've had them for a long, long time, and I just haven't had the guests to come. So does that mean I've lost my money?
Potentially.
Well, how can those be,
Clearly the program hasn't been fully rolled out. So before we get very concerned about the process, I'm sure that some thought will be given to your question about what happens if I don't have them used by the end of the year.
How can having somebody punch that, how can that be abused? Anybody got an answer?
I can give you many examples of club activities and other things where hundreds of people are coming in under punch cards with no record of who those individuals are, who hosted them to come in and attend. There's very little control over who's coming in under those punch cards. So by having the day passes, we actually have that information. When you purchase that day pass, you have to enter the person's name, who's going to be coming in, and we have much better control over who's using the facilities that we're all paying for.
But if I have that card that I have paid for, and I want to take my daughter miniature golfing, and they punch that, I'm there with her, how is that being abused?
That's not a case of abuse, but we have many examples where people aren't showing any ID who are coming in. We're just getting handfuls of punch cards handed in support of attendance at these events. So it is being abused, and we're trying to get our arms around that so that, again, the people that are coming here are being hosted by members, and it's not just opening the doors to the general public.
Okay. Well, that may be, but I just hope by not letting us finish our cards, that's not damaging those of us that are fair. So, and my last comment, I know my time is up, I'm sorry, is all of you are volunteers, and that's why we are the city of volunteers.
So with respect to people who have already purchased punch cards and maybe looking at an expiration, an unexpected expiration at the end of this year, it seems to me like we could offer to purchase, to buy back any unused cards, right, so that there wouldn't be any.
Lois Hoffman, 102-332. And I was going to address the Homeowners Association after the gentleman spoke. I have read those rules. It's been a few years since I've reviewed them, but at the time I read them, cars were allowed 3 days only parked on the street. One of the reasons that I perceive is because some people get very anxious if they look outside and it's dark and there's cars parked in front of their house, or one car or two cars. They don't know who's in the car, if there's somebody in the car, and that becomes a frightening event for them as they are older. The other thing is, just an example, we had a semi parked for 2 weeks on Saddle Ridge in Phase 3. Just this past 2 weeks. It's been gone a week now. But that is very dangerous. There was also a rule in there about travel trailers. When you have guests that come and want to stay in a travel trailer right outside your home, there was a rule in there about the length of time that that travel trailer could be parked. And I recommend that we all support the Homeowners Association group. And we have punch cards too that we've had for a long time. And I'm in some of the clubs, and we require them to come with a member. And a lot of the places, our son he's in his 50s, he has come down and had a day pass, and they required him to show his official identification, and it has his name on there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, John Gallis, 41189. My wife and I have been coming here for over 30 years visiting my in-laws, and now the house is ours, so now we moved down here in January. We just love it down here. And I just want to thank you all for what you're doing. I just love this place. I think you guys are doing a great job. I'm glad it's not the committees that vote, that it's you guys, because I voted for you guys this time, so I can choose who's representing me. So I like that aspect of it. So it's not just what comes out of the committees, but you guys vote. I like what Norma said before about lakefront property. That's part of the reason I love looking through the elements that you guys have there. Having a facility that's on lakefront that we can all go and enjoy and look over that, I think that's wonderful. So, I mean, I really like the elements and stuff. I like the way it is. I like the way that you're data-driven. I just want to thank you guys so much for what you're doing, because my wife and I just love it here, and I think you guys are doing great. We're new, but so far, I think you guys are doing great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You still have 2 minutes if you want to compliment us.
Come on up.
Hi, my name is Sally Wells. They're actually making me come up here. I'm not a talker, and I really didn't want to say anything because I understand what single one of you are going through, because you're never going to please everybody, especially in this community. A little bit about my background. I did hand my I guess you would say my form to Karen with some accredited information. And this goes back to the fans and, the control over everything. And I agree with you that everyone has their own different thing. Now, my background is in exercise physiology. I have a master's degree. I've always worked with cardiac rehab patients. So they are always on some sort of medication. You have to be under total control. And the air and the physiological response of fans and air conditioning and heating, all those elements take control. And one of the things that I would like to mention, and like I said, I'm a runner myself, I swim, I use all of the facilities, but I am one that does not prefer the fans on, especially because I am a very cool person. I could go run I'm originally from Chicago, in the middle of the summer, in 100-degree, 90% humidity, and I wouldn't sweat a bit. But yet, if I'm under a fan, I will get extremely cold. That's my physical response. So therefore, by having control of a fan, I prefer, and I would walk into Bell Center or Marionette, and I would look around, have respect for each and every one of the other members. Okay, there's no one over there under that fan. I can go over there and either shut that one off or turn it on. And I understand there's going to be people that complain about it, and there's going to be fights, but there's fights about everything. And hopefully the monitors can either handle that, or they can have enough respect for each other to not start a fist fight, in the center, which I've also seen over other things. So I guess that's just my comment, is to really take that under consideration, because I have my situation with all of my patients has always been quality of life. I want them to be able to see their grandchildren or their great-grandchildren walk down that aisle. And now some of these people have said they can no longer go to the fitness centers because of those fans being on all the time. So what's going to happen to their quality of health? So that's just my biggest concern. To just take that under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Lori Ellingson. Along with the last speaker, I also have a master's in exercise physiology. I've worked in health clubs and in the fitness and recreation industry for 45 plus years. I do recognize the issue with the fans. Along with that, there's always going to be issues with temperature of swimming pools. Lap swimmers need it cooler. People that are doing physical therapy and rehab need it warmer. And people that are doing water fitness classes need it in between. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when deciding on policies and procedures. And I think the biggest thing is making sure that we have the right people in the right positions to be able to make the right decisions and to make smart choices. ACSM, does anybody know what that stands for? American College of Sports Medicine. ACE, ACE, American College of Exercise. NRPA, National Recreation and Park Association. IHRSA, International Health, Racquet, and Sports Club Association. Most of individual, private, and city recreation centers and fitness centers all belong to one or more of these national associations. They know that you cannot please everybody, but by making one change to accommodate a certain issue or situation is going to affect 3 or 4 other areas. So those are things to think about when deciding on policies and procedures. A thing with communications, this list says that for the annual membership meeting, Friday, February 9th, was the deadline to get motions for changes to articles of incorporation. That date was 3 days ago. Was there communication? Were the residents of Sun City notified about that ahead of time? So I think we can do a better job with communicating, and I am hoping that we'll do a better job with looking at changes. Albert Einstein said the measure of intelligence is the ability to change, and old ways won't open new doors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce Stoffers, number 105183. Well, are you familiar with Game of Thrones? They have this saying, winter is coming. Well, summer is coming, and I'm greatly afraid because so many things close down here during the summer. I'm a year-round resident. I'd like to suggest that perhaps our activities director could look into having maybe things like they do on cruise ships, activities for people that are here all summer long. You can have an indoor miniature golf going on. You can have those horse races and bingo games and all the different things that will bring people together. You could have a game afternoon. You can do all sorts of things that take us out of the sunshine and bring us together in little tables and community groups, or have events that bring phase 1 people together and phase 2 people together so we can see each other, and then something that brings us all together. It would be really a delightful thing that you didn't have to be a member of a club and obligated to spend your time being another volunteer, because many of us have a plate full already. But to have something like that, I think, would be a really good thing to pursue for us. Since I still have some time left, another thing that ran through my mind was the last time I was attending events and looking for somebody that was a rec center professional staff member over at Sunbowl, for example. It was very easy to spot the people before when you had your happy Hawaiian shirts. Now, unfortunately, you fade into the crowd and I couldn't find you. But I knew you were there, but it was a very nice thing to make it easy to find people before. So I just would like you to maybe reconsider going back to something that's a little bit more visible than the darker color that fades into things. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ron Barrio, 13367. This is kind of a request. I don't know if it's for the manager or information technology, but I notice on here you have include Google Calendar in your Arizona week. But for those who probably are ADD on and off the golf course, when I get a tee time reservation, maybe that's already on the list, that information technology could add this to your calendar if you get a tee time or something like that. So it's just kind of a lowball request, and maybe on the request list somewhere. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Mr. Dixon.
Just to finish up what I was saying, this is a serious issue if these figures are correct and they are coming from legitimate sources. They're not my figures. So I would just put on the record that you have some choices to make, some decisions that you can do. Number one, which is not going to be popular, eliminate the risk by not sponsoring pickleball. Two, put on hold any expansion of pickleball facilities until you get some written opinions of just exactly how large that financial and legal risk is. Commit to a widely publicized program to educate our members of the risk of injuries, because they're going in there not understanding that there's a lot of movement in that activity. Perhaps require each player to prove they have personal insurance covering pickleball injuries. Limit or eliminate non-residents. The statistics show that non-residents are more likely to sue than residents. Obtain several expert written opinions from legal and insurance companies on how to best reduce or eliminate this risk. These are prudent steps which can be taken, a responsible response to protect RCSC, its members, its future. But you've got to be doing it now because this is in a litigious society. They're out there waiting. These sources cite two legal cases, one settled out of court, one still being litigated. More will certainly come. Don't let RCSC become the next legal injury case. The major responsibility of your directors is not to expose RCSC and its members to risks which can be avoided.
Thank you.
Norm? Excuse me, Norm and any other attendee who, that's okay, Norm, who reads from or has something, could you take a minute to send it to the board so that we have it for background? Anybody who has information. Thank you.
Hold on. Yes, ma'am.
Helen Tomich, 123016. And I just want to follow up on that, on the fan issue, because it's really bothered a lot of us. I happen to be a cardiac patient, and the information about how overcooling my body when I'm trying to warm up to work out was important, I thought. But I'd also have a question, because all the fans are on at Marinette, but all the fans are off on the treadmills at Sundial, and I don't understand that. All the fans that face the treadmills in this location have been unplugged, so we have no control.
I'll have to look into that at Sundial.
Well, my question, and just as a suggestion perhaps, for instance, in the yoga club, we have people who are hotter and people that are cooler. So we have fans on at one end for the people that need a little more cooling, and off on the other end, so those of us who get too cold because of our heart conditions can stay warm. Maybe that should be, rather than turn them all on, put just a portion of them so that you have a choice. You can, if you need a treadmill that's got a fan on, you can go to that end. If you need a treadmill that doesn't have a fan, you can go to that end. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Mr. Roloff?
Ben Roloff, 12663. One of the first speakers today talked a little bit about the fun city versus the city of volunteers. And I have to address that, just at least very briefly. We're the community that changed the nation because we are active. Well, having fun is being active, but so is volunteering. And I don't think, as the gentleman just alluded to, there's any better example of that than you people up there. The amount of volunteer hours that you spend giving back to this community. But we have so many others that are visible. They've got vests on. They're called the Prides out there, you know, helping us, volunteering their time. And the Posse and the Sun City Cannon goes on and on. I just came from 6 hours of volunteering at the club, and I love it. But I have fun, too, at other activities. But there's time for this, because it is so important, and that we are the city of volunteers. We have long, it was the first sign we saw when we drove in here in 1997 to become residents of Sun City. The sign said, "Welcome to the city of volunteers." What's changed? I don't see anything has changed. What's changed is someone's idea of a better slogan. I respectfully disagree with that decision. Showa was here. It takes a half an hour to explain why Showa is a volunteer organization and what happened back in 1960 and 1961. We'll tell you about that over at the museum, but it's a really long story. $25 a year to process nearly 4,000 complaints about condition of property, illegal parking, people abusing the lot lines, noise, dogs. They investigate, they process them all, they clean up. They have a report card of way over 90% success. How do we do in school? I mean, what kind of standards do we hold them to that we complain about what they do for those $25 that 3/4 of us don't pay? I mean, come on. Norm just mentioned a litigious society. They currently have between, I think it's either 11 or 14 cases in litigation. What happens when they run out of money and they quit enforcing conditions of property? What does our house look like? What's the value of our house? Think about what we pay for insurance. For insurance on our house. The best insurance we have is spending that $25 a year and have them enforce our rules. Thank you.
Thank you. And speaking of volunteers, we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize all the members who volunteer on the committees that support the board and support you, that meet monthly. Just as a mention. Yes, ma'am.
Doris Lebda, 26756. I'm just back on the fan issue. I'm a very frequent visitor at Marionette. I've been here for 23 years, and I've worked out. I use a lot of the facilities. And I just have to say that since these fans have all been going, I've tried everything, and I cannot use the treadmills because of these fans blowing down on me. I've tried wearing a sweatshirt, my vest, and the pressure on my chest and my back, I can't do it. I've had to give up working on the treadmills, and I think there are a lot of others at Marionette that have found the same issue. I do believe that the 50-50 would work because it does work at yoga where I go. We have our choice. We can sit on one side or the other. And I do believe that that would work with having half the fans on one side and them off on the other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since I have a few minutes, I'll make some very brief comments. Milt Lebsack, 1306662. Two items that have been discussed here. As far as the naming on the signs, to me it would make eminent sense to call it the City of Volunteers Who Have Fun. We can do both.
Small letters, okay.
But the second thing that was mentioned here in regards to theater performances and the possibility of having them at Sundial. And I know there are varying opinions on this, but at whatever approach is taken for a performing arts center, in a transitional stage at least, why could not the performing arts people conduct their plays at Sundial? It makes eminent sense to me to use that even if it's only as a temporary basis. It's a wonderful facility. You've got wonderful visual effects. You've got a great sound system. You've got a stage. Why not use it, whether it's on a temporary basis or not? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
I'm back up too. I would like to support that. I think that makes sense. Performing Arts Center at Mountain View, Sundial could use. I think they had a plan before, when it was thought that it would be renovated down there. They had a plan. So we don't have to have the Performing Arts Center at Lakeview. And to the other gentleman's point, it's only 2 miles more central than Mountain View, so it's not like it's really centrally located, so that's not that big of a deal. Now, I wanted to say I like this fun, volunteers and fun. Do you remember what the tennis club motto is? Playing for fun, exercise, and friendship. City of Volunteers, playing for fun, exercise, and friendship. I love it.
Thank you.
I would like to ask a question of Mr. Roloff. The community that changed the nation, is that coined or has that been used before anywhere?
Well, if you walk into the museum, the very first thing you will read, the Sun City's Area Museum, is Sun City, the community that changed the nation. It was the first active retirement community.
Right.
Having fun is active. Volunteering is active. The whole idea, we're going to have a community where we don't sit on our butt and become a couch potato, but we get out and we have fun, we volunteer, we enjoy our life, our community choice, and all the new people we meet.
Thank you. I'm just thinking that maybe that could be another choice.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, it's Margaret Farsh again, 9545. Concerning these signs to see coming into Sun City. I've been raging for a long time to myself, nobody listens, but you can't find the darn signs that say, welcome to Sun City. If you're driving west on Bell, coming into Sun City, it was at 96th Avenue, you start the wall, and right there is a sign that, so help me, is 3 feet by 2 feet that says, welcome to Sun City. You can't find that sign because there's bushes now in front of it. There's car lots on both sides. When you come in after dark, there's no lighting on it, nothing. You don't even know you're in Sun City till you've left it, for heaven's sakes. Coming in on Union Hills and coming down 99th Avenue at Beardsley, not Union Hills, Beardsley, and you come into Sun City on that side on 99th Avenue, they now have a bigger sign. It's now, I'll say, 3 feet by 4 feet. It says, welcome to Sun City. That's a new sign. And that's as big as they could get it. There's one over in Peoria Avenue, they tell me, I haven't seen it yet, at Peoria Avenue and 99th, welcome to Sun City. What's all this about the language on the sign? Let's have a sign that we can find for our guests. I'd say, well, turn in on Bell, and when you see the sign for Sun City, if it's not dark, you might see it there on the right-hand side. That's my comments for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this your first time here?
No, I've been here since '97.
Is this your first time at an exchange meeting?
Yes.
Thank you for coming and speaking up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very glad of the idea.
Based on your proposal for 300 or 350 for the theater, has it ever been looked at or sent out?
Name.
Oh, sorry, Melvin Haas, 114378. You're welcome. Anyway, has there ever been a survey that's sent out to all the residents in Sun City if they would volunteer to, or would like to go to the theater? I mean, not the adult or fine art theater, but the shows. Has that been proposed? Has that been a survey of that or anything? I mean, how do you determine what gets done here? I mean, I'm asking, do you want to answer that or?
So I'm not sure, Melvin, that I understand exactly what you're asking about, but when we think about a performing arts center, we're not just thinking about shows. We're thinking about a much broader spectrum of activities. So we're looking at things when the handbell ringers want to perform. Right now, they're paying to perform in an off-campus site. If we have a continuing education, lifelong learning that wants to have a lecture, there are multiple different usages, and that's been one of the big arguments for actually building a standalone PAC, is to build something that is suitable for a wide range of different activities. So if we were to build a theater that had 900 seats in it, we know that we have dozens upon dozens upon dozens of things that are probably going to attract 100 to 150 people. And so as we've looked, we have actually looked around. We know what Sun City West has. We know what Pebble Creek has. We know what Shadow in Tucson, I can't remember the name of it, something, but we have investigated what other communities that are similar to us have. We've looked at what their how it is used. We've looked at capacity, and we've kind of we've kind of come down around that 300 to 350 seats because we think that that is the most reasonable thing. If you have things that are going to draw 700 people, people would have the option to say, would I prefer to meet here one time at Sundial and set up in folding chairs, or would I prefer to have two performances at a performing arts center with comfortable theater seating, for instance? So those are all things that play into this, but I also just did want to mention that we did actually pay for a professional cost estimate on building a new theater. And that came after we found out that the professional cost estimate for renovating the Mountain View Auditorium, which, you know, Dave, it was going to be a top quality building, that came in at $13.1 million to do that. And that made some of us stand back and look at that again and say, do we want to spend $13.1 million renovating an older building that is in a not prime location for us? So what we have found out is that the current numbers for a theater run at about actually exactly $1,271 per square foot to build a new theater. That includes the seats, it includes the sound systems and all the things that you need. So just to back up, the original plan for Mountain View Option 2, the numbers that were associated with the building of a performing arts center there were under $400 per square feet, completely unreasonable in today's construction world. So we do know approximately if we build a 10,000 square foot theater, it's going to come in at about $12.7 million, a purpose-built new theater. So those are things that we are looking at. Those are things that are informing the decision-making process. But I would say that basically if you're looking at spending $13.1 million to renovate an old building that's in a non-ideal location and compare that with 12.7 for a purpose-built theater in a location that is much more attractive, that goes into the decision-making process. So I'm not sure if that helps with your question or not.
Yeah, it does. And I've heard that before in the sense that you can use it for multiple use, with the smaller groups and things. But I'm looking at the acoustics in here is good, but if you're building or going to renovate it or whatever you're going to plan on doing, you're still going to have all that cost. The only thing you're changing is the amount of seating. Is that correct?
The only thing you're changing between what and what?
I meant for fine arts versus having more seating in that area. Now, you could always block off the area to make it smaller, a menu, if you built something like that. Do you follow me what I'm saying?
Well, so I'm not sure that I do. I would say this. I feel like we're extraordinarily lucky here in Sun City that we have this facility. I think Sundial actually can handle 1,600 people, if I'm not mistaken, if we open up the wings here. That's phenomenal. If we have something that requires a place for 1,600 people to gather, we actually have that. But we're not convinced that that's the best place to put a theater. For a number of reasons. It's up for discussion. It's up for discussion for sure, and we're interested in hearing all the pros and the cons. We've talked about retractable seating, non-retractable seating. We've talked about permanent theater seating. And right now, what we're looking at is building a modestly sized performing arts center that's not designed for the big shows that you're talking about. And we're not designing something for 900 people. But down in Green Valley, for instance, which is just south of Tucson, they have a theater that seats 206 people, and they get something like 56,000 people per year that attend shows at that theater. Mm-hmm. So there is a market that's out there for smaller size theaters, and I mean, they're not a community like we are, but they pay for shows to come in, and you're going to have a different kind of a show that's willing to play for an audience of 206 as opposed to an audience of 900. Yeah. Right, because your ticket prices are only going to generate a certain number of dollars, and you have to take that into consideration.
When you mention like 800 or 900 attendants that come here for this shows, you're averaging what, $25, $30 a ticket. That's like $20,000 every show, and that adds up pretty fast. But I'm not saying that you tear down this building here for the theater. I'm saying if you're going to build a theater, just to take in that consideration of putting a survey out there and see if there's enough people that would come. That's all I'm saying.
If I may.
Thank you. Oh.
If I may, I want to thank you and several of the others for coming forth with what I like to term out-of-the-box ideas. That's how sometimes we can come to different solutions by talking it out and thinking about it. One of my out-of-the-box ideas was to use Sundial for our theater, but it was not welcomed. But I just feel that we should, this is a pretty important subject.
Oh, yeah.
And it needs a lot of care and thought. And I like your idea of surveying, although I don't know how it would be done. I don't know if it's feasible.
You could always put it in the what's that called? That paper that keeps going around.
The
Sunview, yeah, whatever.
It's now called the update.
Yeah.
The problem, part of the problem, sir, is it's just like the amount of people that are here.
That's correct.
Right. We have these meetings monthly. The membership knows about them. We're lucky if we have 200 people.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're back.
Just a quick comment. When you're discussing all this, that big performing arts center in Sun City West, why did it close?
So that was a pretty amazing thing. There were 7,000 seats in that. Nobody's talking about building a 7,000 seat theater.
Well, I know that, but it was torn down. And is it because they weren't getting the business, or they weren't bringing in the...
Ben could probably answer this question better than I could, but my understanding is that for a couple of years they were able to bring in really absolutely nationally top-notch shows, but that didn't continue for long enough to be able to handle the maintenance costs of keeping it running.
Yeah, so. My mom and dad used to go to those.
I can't remember.
Let's not forget that this room, this area here at Sundial, is also used for a large variety of other line dancing, other dancing, bingo, those kind of things. And even if we were to say that we wanted this building to be a PAC, for example, it's not presently situated for that. We would have to probably push out the back of the auditorium here to accommodate all the things that it takes to put on a performance.
Well, it could be done, but it would require that. Yeah.
Again, you're talking about retrofitting an existing facility, and then you have to do something with all the people who are here, like bingo, like dancers, like all the things that we do in this particular auditorium.
Yeah. So every time an idea is presented, there are always pros and cons. And my concern is that I hear cons and suggestions of ways to administer or to rectify them, sometimes just being, oh, no, forget it, no, we're not going to do that. For example, parking at Mountain View. It's like, oh, can't do it, forget it. Well, we haven't addressed it. There are ways to have parking. Think out of the box. How do you do it?
Think out of the box.
I don't know, but so that's one thing. So parking. I know that I've been up here already a couple of times, but I didn't speak to tennis, other than the tennis motto. I did speak to the tennis motto. In the last exchange, I think I mentioned that during the SAC meetings, the tennis club gave up the 2 remaining tennis courts at Mountain View with the understanding that we would have the long-awaited courts that aren't in any shape to play at Lakeview renovated so that we could have more than one facility just at Bell. And now it came to a great shock to us that the primary view of the elements was, before we got the last change that was in there for potentially renovating the PAC at Mountain View, the auditorium there, was to put the PAC right on top of the tennis courts. So it's like, wow, betrayal. I felt betrayed. It was like, wait a minute. So if that is the plan, and even if through all of the discussions, if the board decides to do that and the tennis courts are gone, then Mountain View's back open. We have tennis courts back at Mountain View. We can't give up the tennis courts at Mountain View if you're going to take the Lakeview.
I hear you. I understand what you're saying. But let us get this second reading of the motion passed.
Yes.
Let us get an architect engineer.
Yes.
Let us get a professional. Let's have the necessary conversations, and let's see what kind of designs people come up with. What you say is very fair.
Yes.
You may end up with those tennis courts at Mountain View.
The other thing, relative to the $13 million that was in Proposal M for the renovation of the auditorium, she was given the mantra, it has to be a wow. I don't know what her numbers were exactly, but we cannot assume that that 13 million was a firm number, because she and all of us understood that they were not firm numbers. So if we say the new numbers, and I'd like to see it published, I'd like to see where that new study is for how much a new facility is, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that, because I don't think that the 13 million is a hard number. It could be less than that.
Let's let the architect engineer do their job. But first, let's get an architect engineer on board.
Yeah,
I agree.
I guess part of my thought process on this is that the architect engineer is not going to design something. They're going to advise as far as what the best alternative is. At least that's what I would propose. And quite honestly, as you noted, we are volunteers with limited abilities. I'm speaking only for myself. But, you know, the site selection, when you're dealing with an earthen lake that you just spent $8 million putting a lining on, you're going to be pretty darn careful about digging. So that's the things that you need an engineer to say, you don't go there.
And let's use the beauty of that lake and not put a great big building that
yeah. So yeah, I think
that's in the way.
All of your points are well taken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no, do we have one more? Okay.
Hi, Jim McCarty, 163-032, and I'll be really brief. One of the things that I noticed that I became aware of was the looking at what is requirements for being able to run for the board, and I want to be able to just point out two things. One, the difference between an appointed position and an elected position. And I don't think the board should get involved in what is allowed to have a person run for the board. Two criteria. You have a card and you're breathing. And that's about it. On appointed positions, you can make all the criteria you want to make somebody eligible for that, but the board is an elected position, and I think it should just stay that way. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just got one quick comment pertaining to the punch card. That my understanding is every time you had a punch card, you had to be there with the card holder. You know, so how did that get abused? I don't understand. And, you know, maybe you can clarify that later, but I don't understand that. The reason why I'm stating this is because we're being televised, so I want other people to realize that.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe management would like to handle this, but it's not just a matter of whether you are the guest of somebody, but we actually have regulations governing how often somebody who is not a member here, not a resident, is allowed to come as a guest. So if you have somebody that's just on the other side of the white brick wall, but comes to play horseshoes every single day, and they're really only allowed to do that 14 times a year, we have no way to track that if you're just using a punch card. Is this correct? Whereas if you do the online thing, it's a name that's associated with it, and we can track how often that person comes and whether this is somebody who is really abusing the system by using our facilities as though they were a member for just $2.50 a day.
Well, thank you very much for the explanation, because that makes a lot of sense now. So thank you very much.
Lois Hoffman, 102332. Our club has to turn those names in that are on the punch card. We have to, in the back of one of our books, when they come in, their name is written in that book, and those are turned in. That's my understanding on the punch cards. So if all your clubs aren't doing that, they need to be told. And each one of the clubs, our club only allows, like, you can come 6 times. That's it.
Mm-hmm. So not everybody that uses facilities here is using a club. So there's a difference between monitored activities where there's no club record of it. So congratulations, we're glad that you checked that and that you follow up on that and only allow for a certain number. That's not happening where we have simply monitored activities that are not club-based.
That could be changed. The monitors could take that.
Thank you. The next Board of Directors meeting will be on February 29th at 9 a.m. here at Sundial. The next exchange meeting is on March 11th, 9 a.m. here at Sundial. The annual member meeting is on March 12th at 6 p.m. here at Sundial. There being no further business and without objection, this meeting will be adjourned. Please remember to turn your electronic devices back on. Thank you.
Who's going to object?
This is a copywritten production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.